Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. Yeah, I can hear you great. Perfect. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that worked okay. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes, and I've got a very special treat for you this evening. I am interviewing Miss Dale Bozzio of Missing Persons, one of my favorite bands from the 80s. Thank you so much for chatting with me, Dale. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to chat with me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Very nice to talk to you and your listeners. Thank you.
All right. Well, first off, I wanted to congratulate you on the release of your new autobiography, Life is So Strange, that just came out just a couple weeks ago, correct?
Yes, it did. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this you're kind of covering, basically your life and your time, with Missing Persons, before Missing Persons, kind of what you're doing now, just kind of full gambit of who Dale Bozzio is. What prompted that? What was the catalyst for you to, what made you decide to write a book about your life?
My son Shane woke me up and said, "Your boy died." And I jumped up and said, "Prince died?"
Oh,
He
wow.
said, "Yeah, he died." He said, "I had to be the first one to tell you. That's why I woke you up." I said, okay. What happened? He told me, explained to me the best he could. And I was crying terribly, and I was really taken by surprise. So only thing I can think of when I'm stuck with tragedy is to write. Things just pour out of me through a pen. I find that to be my greatest release. And so I sat down at my desk and I just said, at the top of the page, I wrote, "My Hours with Prince."
Oh, wow.
And I started to write. And then one thing led to another. And the next day I said, well, maybe I should continue writing about a lot of other things too. And one thing led to another. I called my friend Keith Valcourt and said, "Keith, we got to write a book. Come over here." He said, "Okay, I'll be right over."
Wow.
And we did it. He worked many years for the Hustle magazine. That's where I had met him. And he did editorials there. Very fluent, genius in writing. He also just finished writing this book with the Kiss fella called The Vault, Gene Simmons. And so he said he was writing it for a long time and he was just free. And I said, "Come over here." And we just sat in my living room and wrote and wrote and wrote. And he listened to all that I had to say. And he sort of talked to me as if almost a silent interviewer. So I think the book breaks that taboo. It's not in the style of, "Oh, Sally said this to Jake and Jake didn't want to kiss Henry, so, everything fell apart." It's not like that. It states facts. These are the loves that I lost. These are all the gentlemen, and I name them. They're all very gallant, prominent. Some are famous, some are not. Mostly. And I also put a lot of poems in there, and I dedicated some poems, especially one to Warren Cucurullo, which I hope he wakes up and talks to me again someday. Mr. Cucurullo doesn't talk to me anymore.
Oh, no.
So I wanted to wake him up a bit. And then I put a chapter in there that says, Dale is, quote, and it's all what I say Dale is. Not what someone else says Dale is. Women have trouble with that. They want to tell you who they say they are, not you tell them who you think they are. I don't know how men feel about that, because I'm not a man. But I know that about women. Like, don't tell me who I am. I'll tell you who I am. So I kind of did that vibe there. I want to just tell you that I'm pathetic when I'm crying, and I'm extremely afraid of the dark, and I love pasta and things of that nature. So, and then I describe at the beginning my childhood, the kind of mother. It kind of makes me think of Blade Runner. My mother. Let me tell you about my mother. feel every time I say that, but my mother, like, oh God. Well, I don't know what mother means to other people, but it's a little cumbersome. And so anyway, I had a very, very kind of beautiful, not kind of, very beautiful mother. She was fancy, and she liked to dance, and she drank, and she lived a real gala life, and I never blamed her one iota of a second, because she was born in a prison.
Wow.
Yeah, my grandmother had to go into a prison, or like a convalescent kind of prison for women, at 14 years old, because someone raped and she impregnated her, and they ran away. And so I don't know how it all happened, but the authorities stepped in and took her from the family and imprisoned her in 1921. Yeah, so, and this is what, 2022? Well, there you go. 100 years ago. Okay? So, as that falls light of a few decades, the rules were different back then, and I surely hope they update the laws on the books. I'm not too happy with the restrictions that we have in life, and I don't like fences around places or walled in situations. I get to be sleeping so I can see the front door. My nature is sort of clandestine, but I really want to know who's coming in and out the front door. And my eye is on the future. It's on the future. There are no goals. There's no set rules, but there is a future. And I know because I woke up today. When I was 21 years old, I'll tell you real quick, but when I was 21, I had just finished I was Playboy Bunny of the Year for 1976, Boston. I was in Hustler magazine on the cover, and I had just finished making Joe's Garage with Frank Zappa. Okay? Now, I was only 21 years old. All of a sudden, I was in L.A., that was 6 months, and I had a tragic accident. I fell out of a window of Holiday Inn, 40 feet, and I landed on my head, supplement on the sidewalk, and bleeding out in a pool of blood. They took me across the street, downtown LA hospital, and they sewed my head up, 52 stitches. I broke my floating ribs, and I broke my kneecap. And so they wrapped me all up, and I woke up in Frank Zappa's living room. The moon was playing the harp, and I said, oh no, what am I doing here? And Gail said, his wife said, I made you a dish of spaghetti, you fell out a window. Why the hell did you do that? Well, how did you fall out a fucking window? Then I passed out again, and I slipped into a coma. And they had to come and take me from L.A. to Boston. And they put me in a hospital in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the Santa Maria Hospital. It's very holy. My father had been clandestine, but he was worried about God. And so he put me in this hospital, and I had to go on life support, and I was there for months. And finally I woke up. I woke up just like that. Just slipped back out of the coma, and I just said, what am I doing? Is everything all right? And I couldn't see. And then all of a sudden I just got endorsed with pain in my head, and I started screaming. And that's when they knew I was awake. That's when they knew I came to, because they dropped down the morphine a little, and they saw me come to, and my heart rate sped up. So they for whatever they did back then, but they induced me to wake up. And I woke up, and I was in a coma, I was in a concussion. So the blood seals behind your eyeballs, and it takes a long time, one time or another, for different people for the blood to subside so you can see again. So I had to go for these CAT scans once a week. They said, oh, you get a blood clot in your head, and you're going to die, and, you're never going to make it, and you'll never walk again, and blah, 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 blah. A list of things, right? So I left that hospital with like a check sheet. And didn't really pay attention much to it. I just went home and tried to get better. I had to sit by a window and I felt the wind on my face, and I wrote things while I was in my darkness. And I just kept writing and all kinds of things. And then when I have all these poems together, both Destination Unknown and
wow,
Being a Noticeable One and No Way Out and all these things, and I came together with Terry and Warren many, years later, because that was in 1977 by the time I woke up. So we got together and I took all my poems and sat on the floor with Terry and Warren, and we wrote that brilliant Spring Session M record of Missing Persons that I'm so proud of. And so I never wanted that to distinguish. I put my whole life and self and blood, sweat, and tears to become a noticeable one in Missing Persons. And I will never let go of that. I'm wrapped around that like a turtle. So I can never stop singing and acting like a missing person, and having that train of thought and being altruistic and being giving and caring and having the knowledge of all the things and tricks and trials and tribulations that Frank Zappa taught me, and everything that Terry and Warren taught me. They are geniuses. They're geniuses. Chuck Wild, Patrick O'Hearn, the best musicians in the world. And God gave them to me. Just like that. I mean, there's no regrets here for me. And so many more things happened after that, I must say. Just the fact that Prince let me have gave me that the responsibility one day. He said, I love what you do. I'm a huge Missing Persons fan. Come over my house. I went over his house. He said, can you listen to this tape for me, really? Just dedicate me, sit here with me right now for 8 hours. I looked at him sideways and went, 8 hours? I said, yes, absolutely. Anything you say. You want me to sit in this chair right here for 8 hours? For you kids, I'll do it. Okay, what do you want me to listen to? He said, all right, I'm going to play it for you now, okay? You ready? I said, yeah, I'm ready. He turned on this big, giant 8-track machine right by the side of his bed. He had a kind of little twin bed, little white little cot that he slept on. And I said, what? The first note, I knew it. It was me. I didn't even have to. I just heard the first note and I looked at him and went, this is Windows.
Oh,
he said, yeah, this is Missing Persons, the best of, for 8 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I almost fainted, literally, and thought to myself, oh no, I have to sit here and listen to myself for 8 hours. Are you kidding me? I thought I was going to be listening to him. So he really tricked me. He tricked me into that. And I couldn't leave. And he really meant it. Yeah, I had like a 5-course meal before the music was over. So it's like, okay. He said, yeah, Windows is my favorite song. I love Missing Persons. And he loved Terry Bozzio. He's a drummer. He was a drummer at heart. That's his whole thing is all about timing. That's his whole, and with the timing that he had, how could he fall down like that and not get to his chair before he died? What the fuck was he thinking?
Yeah.
Really, what was he thinking? And no one's going to say anything because no one wants to say anything about him. But I talked to him really deeply, and he asked me things very deeply too that I gave him answers to. And we were both afraid of the dark. So there's some kind of camaraderie when you're afraid of the dark and someone else is afraid of the dark. You just look at them and go, "Oh, you're afraid of the dark?" Like you don't want to be afraid of the dark because it gets dark every day.
Right.
So it goes deeper than just the dark. And then we when you're kind of like a kid at heart, you can relate to another kid. And we were like just two kids in a sandbox, and who had the better, castle. That's kind of how it was. We were kind of on almost like, am I going to get a better record than you, or are you going to get a better record than me? Well, you know what? he put my record together. He gave me the record the record deal. It's called Dale. And he said, okay, if it starts outselling me, I have to stop your presses. And what do you think it did? It started outselling. It started outselling him. It sold 250,000 copies. He said, I can't let it sell anymore. I went, what? What are you doing? He said, are you questioning me? No, absolutely not. Okay. Okay, fine. So that's how it was. So I don't know. I don't know how it was for everybody else, but I did frolic with him, though. I'll tell you one thing, and we weren't sleeping. That's how that went. And I don't know who else frolicked with him, but they will come to the altar sooner or later, or they won't. Or they won't, you see. That's how that's going to be, because he was a very fragile, unstable, awkward child. Everyone loves him, and so do I. So do I, deeply. Not in love, but I loved him. And to love someone and not be in love with them is your best effort in life, because then you have to always prove to that person that your love is true. When you say I'm in love with you, that lets them do the talking and the walking. Okay? It's a trick. It's a trick on the psyche. So you must be careful. It's like be careful what you wish for. Same thing. Be careful who you're loving, because you're going to be responsible for that person. And that's what happens to us when we fall head over heels, and then we're all like, oh, God, I can't hurt them for this and for that. And I had that responsibility with him for a short amount of time. But I'm not that kind of girl. I told him, no, I'm not marrying you. We're not doing that. I'm not living with you. I don't want any of your objects or possessions. Money doesn't make my mark. I'm not interested in that. He said, well, what do you want? What do you want? I said, you know what I want? I want to be a number one on the radio. Dale. That's what I want. Me, singing a song so I can prove it to my daddy that I did it. And he's like, what? That's what you want? I said, I don't know about to ask for. He said, exactly. I'll do that for you. Okay? I'll do that for you. I said, okay. And then we got a deal. And then we were pals. Pals.
That became Riot in English, right? That was the album?
Yeah, exactly. And he gave me this song so strong, and a wild avant-garde attack on my psyche happened when he died, and I went, oh God, I gotta go listen to that song. I gotta go listen to it. And I listened to it, and the whole time when I sang it, and the whole existence of the record, I thought it was about him. I thought he was talking about himself. And then I went, wait a minute. He was talking about me. Oh my God. He used to call me, he'd say, you're so cold and hard ass. Wow. I go, I'm probably the nicest person you'll ever meet. I don't know how you can sum that up. But if you said no to him, that was the ticket. So the one last thing about us is on Christmas Eve, just before my record was about to be number one, which he promised, in Europe on the dance chart only, but still number one, Simon. And he said, okay, you're going to go to Europe next week in first class, and press everywhere, and they love it, and it's a hit. And I said, okay, great. Well, little did I know my father was going to have a heart attack at 80 years old, Christmas Eve.
Oh, no.
And it's 1989. That's 1988 into 89. That was it, Christmas Eve. So it was just going to turn 89. So I just left on the red eye out of LA, right? I just packed up. I was a single girl, and I packed up, grabbed my bag. So I was living with Marilyn from Boy George's girlfriend, Marilyn, Peter Robinson, and I said, Marilyn, here's the keys to my cars, and I'll call you. And if I have to stay in Boston, just ship everything to me. Take what you need. I love you. Goodbye. I gotta go. And so she took care of everything for me. She's a dear friend of mine. And so I get in Boston the next day, and I call Prince. He said, you're not home. You're not answering the phone. I said, right. I'm in Boston. And he went, what? And I said, I'm in Boston. My father had a heart attack. He's 80 years old. He's having a 4-heart open bypass operation right now. I don't know if he's going to live or die, but I had to come here right away. He said, oh no, you can't do that. Come right back right now. You get to come back. I said, I can't. I have to wait and see if he's okay. He said, right then and there, didn't take a matter of but 1 minute. He said, I'm going to ask you one question. Who do you love more, me or your father? Who is it? I said, oh, come on. What is silliness? He said, answer me. I said, I'm here because I love my father. Okay? I love my father. I have to take care of him. He said, okay, you're fired. How much money do you want? You're fired. How much money? Tomorrow. 3 times. You're fired.
Jesus.
I said, you can't fire me. You can't fire me. We have a 3-album deal. He goes, well, we don't anymore. How much money do you want? I said, okay, $50,000. And I couldn't say anything. You know, I just, the top of my number just fell out. He said, okay, $50,000. And he hung up.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, okay, we're talking about cold and hot ass,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, it takes one to know one. You know, that's not untrue. It really does. And he frolicked with a lot of women, you know, some a little bit of a time, some a little long of a time, depended how long they could put up with it. Yeah. That's what I think. Hey, I can't say I would have been beautiful to be, you know, Mrs. Roger Nelson. But I didn't do it. I didn't do a lot of things, you know, that people asked me to do. Why? I don't know. I'm a spirited individual, and there's just some things that I put my mind to, and if it says, no, Dale, don't do that, I don't know. It's like somebody talking to me in my head, and I got to go along with it, because there's a format and a way that I have to act and be in this lifetime, for my own sake. I want to make sure that when I'm lost and gone, my sons will walk proud and say, that's my mother right there. You know, that girl in that plexiglass boob top. You know, no matter what she did, we love her. We love her very much. And that's all I need. That's it. And that's been coming a long time, in my life. I never held a baby until it was my own child. All my brothers and sisters, I just say, oh, get away from me. Don't come near me with that. I can't go there. You know, but when it happened to me, I gave in 100%, and I dedicated my life at that given moment to my son Shane. And then when Troy, he was born on my birthday, my little son Troy, big son, they're both 30 and 31. They're big boys. And you know what? They give me a hug, and they pat me on the head. They say, I love you, Dale. And that's pretty amusing to me. You know, I'm like, I'm a wayward rock star. You know, I didn't know that I could get such great validity in life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least, you know, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, as a fan, you know, from from way back, you know, from the beginning, essentially, that you always emitted this spirit, this, you know, kind of spirited personality. Like, you were an individual. I think that's what drew me, you know, originally. I remember this very clearly. It would have been when Spring Session M was released, and must have been Friday Night Videos or Night Flight. And I would have been, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. And, you know, the song
Entertainment Tonight, we were on back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw the video for Words, and I was
okay, right.
Completely. I had never seen or heard anything like that before. And, yeah, it was really incredible. And I think part of what drew me to the band and to you was just this individuality, this band that didn't sound like anybody else. Definitely, synth pop, new wave, but very artistic and very complex song structure. And then you have such an interesting, cool voice, and also that really cool the kind of for lack of a better term, the flourishes that you did, those high flourishes that nobody did that. That was such a cool, how did you come up with that? That was amazing.
It was kind of a mistake, actually. That's what happened. Okay. And I went, and Richard, Terry says, "What are you doing?" I go, I go, you know what? That's the funny thing. It just happened. I inhaled because I'm trying to hit these notes. And then when I inhaled backwards, it just came out. It just went on the tape. We could record over it. And then Warren said, "No, don't record over it. I like that. That sounds really weird and odd, but you're actually doing it out of your. Can you do it again?" And I do it again. I do it again. And Warren's going, "Oh no, just leave that right there. Wait, let Frank hear it. And then we'll make up our mind." And then when Frank heard it, he said, "Is that you? Did you do that now?" And I did. I went, oh. And he went, "How do you do that?" I said, "Breathe in backwards and make a note." And he said, "Okay, well, whatever that means, keep doing it. That will be your signature." And I just started laughing. And I looked at Terry. I went, "See, Terry, shut up." I finally got my one-up. But that's about as far as I got on one-ups. Believe me. I was in the school of rock. I had to learn everything that they taught me, and I did everything that Frank told me that was the right thing to do. And he prepared me. He prepared me for the future. He said, one day, and we were in his kitchen, he used to make us peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which is really unbelievable when I think about it now. I mean, can you see Frank making you grape jelly and a peanut butter sandwich in his kitchen? He would just smash it together. One on one side, one on the other, smash it together like that and hand it to you. And you eat it. Like, what is Frank Zappa making you a peanut butter sandwich? It's beyond my mind right now. But, I mean, he is the string through my whole life. And especially, I can't even imagine that I come all the way out to California. I make the record with him. I fall out this window, and I go all the way back to Boston to exactly where I came from. He comes to Boston all these months later and says, "Okay, get up. We're going to Europe, and you got to come with us. So, take your little things with you need, and we'll take care of you. Come on. Me and Terry will make sure everything's all right." And I was like, what? I'm addicted to morphine. I've been sitting out in the sun, for months now, trying to see clearly and walk straight, and it's not working out for me too well, Frank. I don't know if I can go. He goes, "Oh yeah, you can go. We'll see you tomorrow." And I went home and thought about it, and it didn't take much. I packed one bag and told my mother I was leaving, and I left the next day. And I went to Europe with Frank, and it was one of the most exciting events that I've ever experienced in my whole life. He took us to Rome. They were on tour, and we stopped in Rome, and he said to Terry and Patrick O'Hearn, "Walk her up to the top of the Sistine Chapel, all the way to the top. And if she gets over the top to the top and looks down the other side and tells you it's okay, she can do it again, and she doesn't get afraid, I'm going to get her a pass to go in to see the cryogenically frozen popes in the Vatican, because my seventh generation uncle, his name is Consalvi, he died acting Pope at the Vatican, and his name is all over the Vatican, and his pictures are all over the Vatican, and he's cryogenically frozen with the rest of the popes." So Frank went to the top of the red tape at the Vatican and got me a pass to go with Terry Bozzio, because my name says Consalvi, just like the Pope, and we went in and saw the cryogenically frozen popes. So Frank, when we went back to the hotel, Frank said, "Does she look like them? Do they look alike?" Terry said, "Absolutely." He said, I was laughing hysterically. and then we went on. We went from there to, oh gosh, we went to Germany, Amsterdam, Paris, Switzerland. It was an incredible tour. And I learned so many things about life. I ate lingonberries on the train going to Switzerland and jumped out in the snow in my T-shirt in Switzerland and just looked around and thought, wow, okay, I'll never do this again, and especially not with Frank Zappa. And that was the truth. And all the things that I did do, they were all one-time things, but they were one-time great things that no one would ever make possible for me. I'm just a little girl from Medford, and my father secluded me in the house that I lived with him for 20 years. He did not let me go anywhere. And when I told him I had to go to Hefner's house to be the centerfold, he said, okay, you can do that. And he bought me a car. So go figure, right? Go figure. I don't know how things happen or where they get planned. It's all I always say, destination unknown. And the reason I wrote the book Life is So Strange is because that's what I say in Destination Unknown. And that's what I was writing after I fell. I was just saying over and over to myself, life is so fucking strange, man. What is going on? Like, really? Like, I mean, I woke up and I was back where I started so, like, heavily. It lays on my mind more than ever, and I discovered it after now writing the book and going through all these metamorphoses of all these things that happened. I never really thought about it before, how it all ended up. And then Frank, when I saw out the window, he felt very sad about it. And I know he wanted to make it up to me because I was a miracle to be alive. That was it in a nutshell. And we all knew it, and I knew it. And so we went on that way and just thought, okay, Dale's back. She's okay. She's going to make it. And I did. And I'm lucky enough to have accomplished so many amazing things in my life. I made so many records. I made records with the missing persons. I made records with Frank Zappa. I made a record on Prince's label. He wrote me a song. I mean, tomorrow morning, 9, 10 o'clock, we got the Kurzweil and everything. Anything you say, Ken. He said, okay. See you tomorrow. He said, but why don't you go out the front door? Don't go out over the fence.
Wow.
He opened the door, went out. Terry and Warren is sitting in the beach, Dawson Beaches, and I said, come out and meet Ken. They jump out, they say hello, we all say, and I say, okay, and then I say right then and there, all right, Ken, see you tomorrow. And Terry and Warren, oh, you're kidding me. I said, I'm not kidding you. I'm not fucking kidding you. He'll be there at 10 o'clock. Let's go tell Frank. That's how we did it. And, I'm from the East Coast, and my father was Roman, and we don't take any bullshit. All right? That's it. And it's all for the good. The good of everyone. And that's how it went. And everything Frank told me, I said, okay. Frank said, jump. I say, how high, Frank? Tell me what to do. I'll do it. He said, okay, well, I think you better go climb up the fire escape at K-Rock and tell them to play your record. So I did. We drove out there. I climbed up the fire escape, knocked on the door at K-Rock. They opened the door. It was 12 o'clock. I put the record in front of my face, and Richard Blake said, who's behind the record? And when I pulled the record down, and I had blue hair. He said, oh, okay. I said, yeah, we're all from Frank Zappa. Will you play this record today? Frank's favorite song is Mental Hopscotch. He said, absolutely. Come on in. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that's how that went. So, I am the kind of person that really believes in putting my mind to something and making it happen. I start out with small things. I always have, even as a kid. You start out with the small things. Had to kind of get most of the stuff from my father to make it happen. But, some people are easy to talk to and some aren't. On the other hand, my mother ran away when I was 9, and I didn't see her again for many, many, many years later. So different strokes for different folks. But I was raised by a Roman man, and believe you me, no one can tell me what to do. That's it. I do it my way. And Frank Sinatra or anybody else wants to go with me, okay.
Nice.
So that's how that is. And I knew Frank knew that. And I knew that he knew I would do anything. I would do anything for Frank. Anything. And when I saw him, I'll tell you this real quick, but when I saw him the last time I saw him, which was about 8 days or so before he died, and I sat with him and I held his hands and he held my hands and I held them softly because he wasn't feeling too well, and I told him how much I loved him, and I asked him, Frank, do you regret anything? If you could get all this right back and just keep it just the way it is, would you take it all back, Frank? And he said, yeah, I would. I would take it just like this. It's okay. You know, he told me that he made some money for his kids and that, you know, he sold the music so it could always be, you know, played and found, and which was, you know, a very good deed for the rest of the world, because, you know, when you hide away all your masters and you only keep them for yourself, the world doesn't appreciate it, and really music makes the world go round, so it's important to share it. So when I talked to him and he said to me, go play mental hopscotch, get Terry Warren, and you go play mental hopscotch for me, because that's my favorite song. And when I said hello, goodbye to him, I had to grow up really quick. I had to pull it together. You know, I had 2 little boys. I had a husband on the way out, and I wasn't singing, and I was really disturbed to lose Frank. I don't know what the point is I was trying to come across, but as I say, you know, he has been the string to some days really keep me together, you know, in the long run. And I just go back and go, okay, it's okay. Frank told me this, you know, Frank said that, and it's okay, you know, because he knew. It's for some odd way. It's kind of like he could tell the future. He just knew. I made a record with him called Thingfish, and he called me and Terry back in the studio to make it. It was a pretty amazing record. Really incredible performances. And he said to me that day, he took me to the side. He said, can you go back with Terry? I said, no, Frank, no. He picked someone else. He said, no, you got to go back. You got to go back with Terry. I said, I can't. I can't. It's not up to me. I can't change him. And he said, keep trying. And I couldn't. He took on with someone else, and he had a child. I mean, and thank God, you know, he has a child in the world. We weren't having children. He wouldn't allow me to have a child, Harry. I was with him for 10 years, and he was belligerent about that. That wasn't going to happen. So, you know, there were rules and regulations, you know, and that's how it went. And so the way it all came down, Terry went on to build a drum set and you know, be free of missing persons. Warren joined Duran Duran. I mean, Goss wrote one of the greatest songs in ever, Ordinary World. And, you know, they've done monumental things with their lives. And me, I wanted to, when that day when Prince said I was fired, I didn't go back to LA. That's it. I stayed in Boston. I said, oh, wow, he's firing me and putting $50,000 the next day. The money was there. And I went, okay, I'm going to stay here. Now I'm going to stay with my father. Live or die, I'm going to take care of my father. I said, I love my father. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take care of him. And that's what I did. I stayed by my father's side. I moved him into my house. I ran into Richard McKenzie, my ex-husband, and I all of a sudden got pregnant immediately, and my life rounded out really well. And it was the best thing for me.
Yeah. Well, and then you know, later, you know, I guess quite a few years later, I mean, you did get Missing Persons back together. And
yes, I did. And I said to Frank that day, I said, Frank, that's going to take me a lifetime to get these fellas back. He goes, that's okay. You got it. You have a lifetime. You have a lifetime, and you do that for me, okay? And I said, I will, Frank. And it took me a long time. Yeah, it took me years to get them to agree to even talk to me, let alone play a show with me. And for some reason, they won't talk to me now. So I don't know what it is, you know. I don't know. I guess I hurt their feelings. That's the only thing I can say, is that I did something that hurt their feelings. Yeah.
So you persevered, and what's really cool, I think, is that, for people that may not know this, so in 2014, you released the first Missing Persons album in quite a long time, which is Missing in Action, which is a fantastic album. And what I love about it is that it's a progression of the sound of Missing Persons. Just like, what should be the next album? After Color in Your Life, it's like, this is what comes next. And then, of course, just less than 2 years ago, you released Dreaming, which is a really incredible album and really interesting, I think, to those that aren't aware of it. Just it's a different sound almost for Missing Persons. It's a little darker, and it's also, I think there's 2 original tracks, and then you do some covers, and some covers that you would not expect, or at least that I wasn't expecting, and arrangements that are really fascinating and really edgy. It kind of blew my mind. Just, I would, listening to it the first time, I didn't look at the track, didn't realize what some of the songs were, and then they start playing, and I didn't recognize it right away until the lyrics started. And I'm like, oh wow, this is the Cars, and this is like a really amazing, slower, darker version. It's really incredible. I would, strongly suggest for anybody that's, definitely a Missing Persons fan or just a fan of good music should check out Dreaming. It's such a cool album.
I thank you so much. That was really, really a beautiful description there. Thank you so much. You hit a lot of things that are personal to me, actually, really. And the songs that I did pick, they're meaningful to me. The 2 songs that I have written on there, the two fresh new songs, are very important to me too. That's it. So I wanted to only do the special tunes, and I'm a big dramatics fan. I grew up in Boston on soul music. That's where I find that's where I get my timing, and that's where I find where I can hit the notes. I mimic singing Tavares and the stylistics and the dramatics. That's where I came from. I know they're men, but I always try to reach the peaks of other people's notes. I try to get to these particular notes, and I have to hear them in my head because I don't know what they're called. So I don't read or write music. So everything to me has to come from my ear. And that's the one thing that I can only say that has gotten me this far. And of course, the love of, the music, that I know that I can depend on myself to deliver. I do know that. I know I can. I'm not faking it. And it may not be your style or what someone's expecting, but I give it my own stamp. And I think that is what makes me apart from the rest. If you have that courage, you create a stamina for your own self. If you exercise every day, one particular exercise, that's why you shouldn't do the same exercise every day, because you will gain much to mass and muscle, right? Yeah. You got 2 days on the legs, you got a day on the upper torso, blah, 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 blah. So you mince it about. Same thing in music. You're only dealing with 8 notes, my friend. Okay? Because there's not a lot to go around here. You got to get really creative. And it's all in the approach. Isn't it? Isn't it the approach? And you say to yourself, that's Willie Nelson. You know it's Willie Nelson. That's Dion. That's Diana Ross. Yeah, you do. You just do. Okay? You know those songs. And the Supremes. You know it's them. it's a presentation. I'm not saying, hey, I'm not saying they can sing under the boardwalk. Maybe they can't. But what they do superbly. And if you just did that in everything in your life all day long, you wouldn't even be working for $1. Life would be a breeze. And that's how I see it. That's how I see it. Frank told me, you know what, Dale, you're never even going to work a day in your life. I thought, well, that's pretty funny, Frank. Yeah, okay, all right. I like that idea, but okay, I don't know about that. What are you talking? You say because you're doing something that you love, and you won't even know. You'll be wishing the time didn't go by. And he was right. I sure wish the time didn't go by. I was having the greatest time of my life. Didn't even really know it. Me and Missing Persons, we rehearsed for a year. And then Frank said, go rehearse for this year and then go play some concerts. We'd go play like Club 88 for $80 and give the money to the crew. And then we got the opportunity to play the Yacht Festival one day, and we went, uh-oh, things are going to change now. So we really created a condition that couldn't be ignored, and we did that purposely. The three of us together, Terry, Warren, and myself, and I have great respect and love for them. And I go on. I do. I go on and I sing these songs, and I have an incredible band now.
Yeah.
Andy Sinisi on drums. He smokes the bass. Prescott Niles, the bass player from the Knack. Carl D'Amico, kids from New York. He slays them. And my kid Paris from Paris and Don Keys. We're tight. And you can't break us. It's pretty great, but I've played the song so many times now, I get to be open-hearted, I'm not being scrutinized. I'm not being, it doesn't matter what the press says, right? I can wear jeans now. I don't have to wear no clothes. I can put some clothes on. It's a whole nother world, right? So there's more opportunities for me. And I really appreciate the time that I get to spend now. I'm 66. I'm going to be 67 on March 2nd. My son Troy has the same birthday. And it's been a journey. Let's say that. It's been an incredible time for me to be in the music business pre-COVID, after COVID, whatever, we'll survive. We'll survive everything. I'm sorry of all the loss of lives. I don't take it tritely. Believe me, I don't. And I do see the crumbling of society and the poor people that can't make it past go. So yeah, that concerns me and worries me. Believe me, it does. But I try the best I can within my small confines of my life. I have a little thing that I had read myself that impressed me, and there's a man and he walks down the beach on the sand, and he sees all these starfish. They're all just flushed up by the sea, and some fish can't live out of the water for very long. They die. So all little starfishes, big starfishes he saw in his path, and he picked up every starfish and he threw them back in the water, and he threw them in the water, and every one he made this long path, and finally looked back, saw how clear it was. And he kept doing it, and he thought, wow, I will give all the starfish back. As long as I can walk the path, I will clear the path. And what happened? It made him happy. It made him happy. It made him happy. And so you see that I think there's a moral in all of these tragedies. There's no mistakes. There are no mistakes. You must be unflinching in your desires and keep the path. Keep the path. Maybe you got to clear the starfish.
Yeah. That's good advice. Definitely. So do you have, I know it's, we're in this COVID world right now. Do you have any live shows currently lined up? Do you have anything?
Oh, yeah. Saturday night, I'm going to play. I played last week at Anaheim House Blues with the nice Stacy Q and the Bow Wow Wow girls. And then I'm playing Saturday night in Palm Springs. Yeah, 420 Bank. And then next week, actually March 2nd on my birthday, and my son's birthday is the same day. And both my brother and my mother passed away on our birthday. Yeah, 1 year apart. It was rather tragic. So I like to play a concert on that day. Whatever day it falls on, it doesn't matter. So I'm playing in Murrieta at the Cove, a very, very wonderful place for dinner, and going to have a party there. Yeah, March 2nd.
Very cool.
Yeah, you got to keep walking through the fire. You can't let it stop you, no matter what it is. I mean, I know people get taken away from us, and then just like that, things change, and lots of things happen. I don't know, it could be anything or anybody, but you got to keep stepping. You just got to keep stepping because it's going to help somebody else, and that's the point of our footsteps, taking the right foot into the left foot. So maybe we hurting ourselves and are afraid, but for the next person, it surely puts a good image to not break, to not let anyone see you break. It shows you're confident and shows you have courage, and that makes the world go round. That makes everything possible. It's not about the money. It's not about really who you love. It's how you love. It's how you do. So I just want us all to be careful, and I know everything will be all right. As I said before, I know it will. I know it will. I know it. I know it. It just, you have to learn it for yourself, or else it's not worth the experience. It means something different to everyone. So, for however it pans out, there's no mistakes here in the life that we live. It's unflinching future, and that's how it's going to be. It's coming with you or without you.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely.
So I just want to wish everyone well, and clear up things. And hey, if you got to cry a little, that's okay too. There's music for that. So I'm all just for going through the emotions, panning ourselves out, and just remember to pat yourself on the back and tell yourself you're all good. It's all good, and you're going to be all right, man or woman. You got to be encouraged.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing I wanted to say before we finish up here is for anybody listening to get a hold of your book, Life is So Strange, your autobiography, they can get that from Cleopatra Records.
Actually, what you should do? You should get it from me because I can personally autograph it to you or sign it, autograph it. They won't come autographed from Cleopatra. Okay. So if you go to me, I mean, of course, go to Cleopatra all you want. You can get them there too. But then you'll have to wait to see me. Someone get me to get the autograph it for you. So whatever. Either way, it's all good. But you can go to Facebook.com/DaleBozzio.com. I have a lot of Facebook friends there. So this week coming up, I'm going to say, that the book is available now. I have a certain amount of copies because I do think it will be a collector's item. There's a record in the back. It's pink vinyl. It's really, really neat. And, so it's kind of like a cool little added extra. And, I think it's 4.5 pounds. It's heavy, but I will mail it out right away. I've got the great postage situation now. Everybody, at least we can function now, right? Go out with masks and so forth and so on. We can get out and about. Before, with all the shutdown and lockdown, I'm looking to things weren't flourishing too quickly. But we're going to get back into the throw of things. So I can get that book out, no problem. And you can also go to, which is another site of mine, which is called DaleBozzio.today.
Oh, okay.
So either way, but if you're my Facebook friend, people will all know where to see me there on Facebook book/DaleBozzio.com.
Great. And they can also get, not only can they get the book, they can also get,
You can order, vinyl records from me. I have 8x10s and things like that, so much. But I say get the book because you'll be happy. You'll be happy with me, and then you'll know more about what all really happened with my life, and I think you'll love the record. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you today. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic. And I'll include links in the description so people can take a look at to your pages. Get a copy of this great book and check out. So again, thank you so much for meeting with me. I really, really appreciate it. Have a fantastic evening.
Thank you so much for your time and your energy. Really, you're a wonderful fellow, and I'm very glad that you made me think about all these things today. Okay? Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay.